I was just a 25-year-old paint store worker when an arrogant old contractor decided to scream abuse at me. He thought he could get away with it. He didn't realize his tantrum would cost him his business, his reputation, and every discount he ever relied on. It started as just another day at the store. Our location wasn't just any paint shop. It was the regional training hub, the kind of place where new managers and specialists rotated in every few months. It meant the work was demanding, but it also meant we had each other's backs. I love that. For someone like me, 25, autistic, still learning how to balance my PTSD with everyday life, structure and teamwork weren't just helpful, they were necessary. I wasn't in this job for the paycheck alone. I genuinely liked helping customers pick colors, solve problems, and walk out feeling like their projects mattered. Every gallon I mixed felt like part of a bigger story. My mom used to say I had her sales smile and my dad's builder's patience. Working here gave me a chance to use both. But not everyone saw us as people. There was one name that made my stomach knot every time it appeared on caller ID: Bob. A contractor in his 60s, known across the city for being rude, sexist, and just plain cruel. My boss, Tommy, had a saying about him. He's a sad old man who never adapted to showing respect. Bob treated staff like servants, barked orders, and went out of his way to humiliate the trainees who passed through our store. We all had a system for dealing with him. If Bob called, Tommy or one of the senior specialists took it. If Bob showed up, the rest of us made ourselves scarce. The rule was simple: don't let him target the rookies. And for nearly 10 months, it worked. I managed to avoid more than a few of his meltdowns, watching from the sidelines as Tommy handled him with the kind of calm only experience can give. It wasn't perfect, but it kept the peace. Until the day everything went sideways. That morning, half our staff was gone. Some were at a training event, others home sick, and suddenly the rotation system that kept me safe didn't exist. It was just me, Ben, and Raphael juggling the store. We tried to laugh about it, filling orders and swapping stories like it was just another hectic shift. Then the phone rang. The name flashing on the screen made my stomach turn cold. For the first time, I didn't have anyone to pass the call to. No backup, no shield. Just me and the voice I never wanted to hear. I didn't know it yet, but picking up that call would set off a chain reaction that ended with Bob losing everything he thought made him powerful. When I first started working at the paint store, I thought I'd finally found a place where I could breathe. The store wasn't just another retail outlet. It was a training hub, the kind where every week we'd welcome new hires, management trainees, and interns eager to learn the ropes. There was always this hum of activity, the sound of tint machines whirring, the clink of paint cans sliding across counters, and conversations that mixed the technical with the personal. For me, it wasn't just a paycheck. At 25, carrying both autism and PTSD, I needed structure. And this place gave me exactly that. Every morning I'd walk in, take a deep breath of that oddly comforting paint and sawdust smell, and feel like I was part of something solid. The regular customers knew us by name. The district managers trusted our store, and my boss, Tommy, had a reputation for being both firm and fair. We were more than co-workers. We were a unit. That's not to say every day was perfect. We all had one name that could sour the mood the second it came up: Bob. He was a contractor in his 60s, and if you asked 10 people in the city about him, 9 would probably say the same thing: miserable, arrogant, stuck in the past. Bob treated trainees like dirt, snapped at women behind the counter, and carried himself like he was doing us a favor by stepping through the door. Tommy had a rule when it came to Bob. If his number showed up on the caller ID, or if his truck rolled into the parking lot, someone experienced was supposed to step in. Protect the rookies, he'd say. It wasn't about weakness. It was about shielding people from unnecessary abuse. I'd seen him take Bob's calls before. Calm, unflinching, never giving Bob the satisfaction of a fight. The rest of us followed his lead, and it worked. Still, the truth was unavoidable. Every time that number flashed across the phone, my stomach dropped. I'd tense up, like a reflex I couldn't control. It wasn't fear exactly. It was the knowledge that no matter what, Bob would find a way to turn a routine order into a battlefield. That morning started like any other. The store was short-staffed, which wasn't unusual for a training hub. Tommy was out sick, half the trainees were away at a workshop, and I was juggling customers with Ben and Raphael. We made it work, cracking small jokes between rushes, trading quick stories while measuring gallons. It felt like one of those "we'll laugh about this later" shifts. Then the phone rang. I glanced at the screen, and my heart sank. The name was right there, glowing on the display like a warning sign. Bob. I knew the protocol. I knew I wasn't supposed to take it. But Raphael was buried in tinting a massive order, and Ben had a customer halfway through checkout. My hand hovered over the receiver for just a second too long. And then, against everything Tommy had taught us, I picked it up. "Thank you for calling Paint Store in City. This is Alex. How can I help you?" I said, forcing cheer into my voice. For half a second, there was silence. Then came the gravelly tone I'd learned to dread. "This is Bob with company name," he barked. "I need another gallon of the same paint I picked up the other day. Same color, same order. Don't screw it up." I pulled up the order system, trying to focus. The phone speaker crackled like an old radio, and his voice came through broken and sharp. I typed in his account number, double-checking details the way we were trained to. "All right, Bob," I said carefully. "Just to confirm, you want 1 gallon, same paint and color as the order you picked up a few days ago. Is that correct?" I might as well have lit a fuse. The roar that came through the line nearly made me drop the phone. "Are you stupid? Do you think I don't know what I ordered? You little idiot. Just do your job and stop wasting my time." His voice climbed louder, sharper. "Goddamn kids working in these stores. No respect, no brains. What the hell are they even paying you for?" Heat rushed to my face. My chest tightened, every insult stabbing deeper than it should. I wasn't new to insults. I'd had years of therapy to deal with people like this. But something about Bob's venom had a way of making you feel smaller than you were. I tried to breathe through it, steady, professional. "I just wanted to make sure I got the order right, sir," I said, but the word "sir" caught in my throat. He kept going. "Don't call me sir. You think you're being smart? You think you're better than me? You're nothing. You'll never be nothing. If you screw this up," he broke into a wheezing laugh, the kind that made my skin crawl. "Let's just say, you don't want to know what happens." By then, I'd stopped listening. My eyes were fixed on the order screen, fingers finishing the input automatically. The words blurred, replaced by a pounding in my ears. Finally, he snapped. "You got it?" "Yes," I managed. "Good." And just like that, click. He hung up. I lowered the receiver, staring at the phone like it had burned me. My hands were shaking. I wanted to scream, but instead I pushed my chair back and stood up fast. Ben glanced over from the counter, eyebrows raised. "I'm making a couple of calls," I muttered, my voice low but firm. "I'm done with this." For the first time, it wasn't fear in my chest. It was exhaustion, hardened into something else, resolve. Because Bob thought I'd just take it. He had no idea what was about to hit him. I walked straight into the stockroom, the cool air and faint smell of cardboard helping me catch my breath. My phone buzzed in my pocket like it knew I needed an escape. I pulled it out and fired off a text to Tommy. "Hey, just a heads up. Bob verbally abused me over the phone. I'm in the stockroom trying to calm down." My thumb hovered over the send button for a second. Part of me worried it sounded weak, like I couldn't handle my job. But another part, the part still stinging from Bob's words, knew it was the right thing to do. I hit send. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with an incoming call. "Tommy." I answered, and his voice came through rough, heavy with congestion. He was clearly sick, but what I heard most was concern. "Hey man, what happened? Are you okay?" The knot in my chest loosened. I explained everything, Bob's screaming, the insults, the way he hung up like I didn't even matter. I didn't hold back, just let it spill out. Tommy listened quietly, then sighed. "You did nothing wrong. He's been pulling this crap for years, but now he's crossed the line. You go take a breather. I'll make a call to his rep." "Are you sure?" I asked. "I don't want to." "Stop." Tommy interrupted, his voice suddenly sharp. "This isn't about you being too sensitive. It's about him being a miserable old bully, and I'm done letting him treat my team like this." For the first time that day, I felt a flicker of relief. Not because I thought Bob would suddenly become a decent human being, but because I realized I wasn't alone. I went back out front after a while, trying to shake it off. The store had gone quiet. The last customer left, and Ben was leaning against the counter chatting with Raphael. They were trading funny horror stories from old jobs, and I tried to join in, laughing a little too loudly at Raphael's story about a paint spill in a client's new kitchen. Then my phone buzzed again. "Tommy." I stepped aside and picked up. "Yeah." His tone was different now, lighter, almost triumphant. "So guess what? I just got off the phone with his rep. Bob's banned from our store effective immediately. I blinked. Wait, what? Yep. No more orders, no more discounts. And his rep wasn't exactly subtle. He tore into him. Said this wasn't the first time Bob had been reported, and he's sick of cleaning up after him. Oh, and one more thing. The rep's jacking up his paint prices. No more sweetheart deals. For a second, I couldn't speak. Then I grinned so wide my face hurt. You're kidding me. Not even a little, Tommy said. Actions have consequences. He thought he could abuse you and get away with it. Not anymore. I hung up, still smiling, and walked back to Ben and Raphael. So, I said, leaning on the counter. Guess who just got himself banned? Their jaws dropped. Then, almost in unison, they burst out laughing. For the first time in months, the name Bob didn't make my stomach sink. It made me laugh. The next morning, I walked into the store half expecting business as usual. The bell over the door jingled, the shelves gleamed with fresh gallons, and the tint machines hummed like background music. But the air felt different, lighter, almost charged. I barely had time to set down my coffee before Jen, our assistant manager, cornered me by the counter. Hey, she said, lowering her voice. Tommy filled me in about yesterday. You okay? I nodded. Yeah, rattled, but okay. She gave me a half smile. Good, because you're about to enjoy some news. Before I could ask, the door opened and Patty, one of our management trainees, strolled in with a grin plastered across her face. Did you hear? Bob's finished here. Tommy said he's banned for good. I blinked. Wait, already? Patty nodded enthusiastically. Not just banned. His rep's done with him. They raised his prices way up. No more contractor discounts. He's basically paying full retail now. Jen leaned on the counter, smirking. Imagine being in business for decades and suddenly losing your golden goose. That's what he gets. I let the words sink in. Bob's livelihood had always depended on volume discounts and professional pricing. Without them, his margins would collapse. The idea of him storming into a job site and realizing he was bleeding money made me want to laugh out loud. But Tommy wasn't done. When he came in later, still pale from his cold, he gave me a fist bump and said, You know what the best part is? His reps spread the word to the other accounts in the region. Every store knows not to cut him deals anymore. No discounts, no referrals, nothing. It hit me then. Bob hadn't just lost access to our store. He was being quietly exiled from the entire network. Wait, I said slowly. So he can't just go to the sister store? Tommy shook his head. Nope. They're in on it too. Word spreads fast when someone's toxic enough. Raphael, listening from the back, chuckled. Man's about to find out what it's like buying paint like a regular Joe. I couldn't help it. I laughed too. The image of Bob standing at another counter, barking at some poor clerk only to be told full price, take it or leave it, was more satisfying than I ever expected. Still, a small part of me worried. What if he comes back here? Tries to fight it. Tommy's smile was calm but sharp. Then he'll find out real quick that being banned isn't a suggestion. He messed with the wrong crew. For the first time in my career, I realized that the system could work for me instead of against me. And for Bob, it was only the beginning of his unraveling. Because losing his discounts was bad. But what came next? That was worse. By the time I clocked in the next day, the story had already spread like wildfire. I barely made it past the front counter before Patty waved me over, eyes wide. Did you see the picture? She whispered, as though it was contraband. What picture? I asked. She glanced around, then pulled out her phone and tapped the screen. There it was, a wall covered in cracked, peeling paint. The surface looked like the skin of a reptile, split, curled, broken in jagged lines. That, she said with a grim smile, is Bob's work. I blinked at the photo, then at her. You're kidding. Nope. One of his clients sent it straight to his rep. The storms last week exposed everything. Turns out Bob cut corners. Cheap prep, lazy finish. And now it's alligatoring. The word made me wince. In paint terms, alligatoring meant the surface had cracked so badly it resembled scales. It was one of those rookie mistakes that screamed negligence. Tommy joined us at the counter, clearly savoring the moment. That client wasn't quiet about it either, he said. Chewed him out, threatened to drop him, and sent the pictures to anyone who'd listen. And trust me, people are listening. Jen came over too, arms crossed but smirking. Imagine charging full contractor rates, then delivering something like that. No wonder the storms tore it apart. He deserves everything that's coming. I stared at the photo again, and something inside me shifted. Yesterday had been about personal relief, finally seeing Bob get a taste of consequences. But this was different. This was the industry itself turning against him. His reputation's gone, Raphael chimed in from the back, overhearing. Contractors live and die on word of mouth. And right now, his name's poison. I thought back to the countless times Bob had strutted in here like he was untouchable. The way he barked at trainees, mocked me over the phone, acted like he was above the rules. That photo proved otherwise. He wasn't a master builder. He was a fraud, and the cracks, literally, were showing. Honestly, Patty said, slipping her phone back into her pocket. It's almost sad. I raised an eyebrow. Almost. She grinned. Yeah, okay. Not really. We all laughed. But under the humor was something sharper. This wasn't just karma, it was exposure. The same arrogance that fueled Bob's abuse had bled into his work, and now everyone could see it. As I stocked shelves later that afternoon, I kept picturing that cracked wall. For years, Bob had chipped away at people's confidence with his insults, his tone, his cruelty. Now his own work was chipping away at him. And the more people saw it, the more they turned their backs. Bob thought the worst was behind him when he lost his discounts. He had no idea that the real blow was only beginning. The photo of Bob's cracked paint job didn't just stay on one client's phone. Within a day, it had made the rounds, first to his rep, then to other contractors, then to our sister store down the road. By the end of the week, it felt like the entire network had seen it. And once word started spreading, the dominoes fell fast. One of our district contacts stopped by to drop off paperwork. He leaned on the counter, smirking. So, I hear Bob's not welcome around here anymore. Jen grinned. That's one way to put it. Try persona non grata. The contact chuckled. He called the sister store yesterday, tried to place an order. They told him flat out. Full price, no exceptions. He blew up, started yelling, and they hung up on him. Can you believe that? A grown man screaming over a gallon of paint. I couldn't stop the laugh that burst out of me. The image was too perfect. Bob, red-faced, spitting curses into the phone, only to be cut off mid-rant. For years, he'd walked around like he was untouchable. Now he couldn't even bully his way into a discount. Even the trainees caught wind. Mort, one of our new guys, asked me, is it true he's blacklisted everywhere? Pretty much, I said. He burned too many bridges. Nobody wants to deal with him anymore. Mort whistled low. Guess that's what happens when you treat people like garbage. It was more than that, though. It wasn't just Bob's attitude. It was his pattern. The rep had finally had enough. Our sister stores had enough. Even the clients had enough. It was like the entire community collectively decided, no more. And here's the thing, Bob didn't just lose discounts. He lost credibility. Contractors live and die by reputation, and now his was radioactive. No referrals, no price breaks, no goodwill. Every door he slammed on others' faces was now slamming shut on his. That afternoon, I caught Raphael chuckling by the tint machine. You know what's funny? He said. Bob thought he could scare everyone into giving him what he wanted. But now, he's the one scared. Scared of losing jobs. Scared of not being able to afford supplies. Scared of being irrelevant. I thought about it for a moment, then nodded. Yeah, the tables finally turned. And for the first time since I'd started at the store, I felt a weight lift. Not because Bob was gone, but because the people around me, the network, the team, the system, proved they wouldn't tolerate abuse forever. It wasn't just personal revenge anymore. It was justice. But as satisfying as it was to watch Bob fall, my story wasn't finished yet. Because his downfall had given me something too. Something I didn't realize I'd been missing until that moment. By the end of that week, the store felt different. Not just because Bob was gone, but because I was different. The tension that used to settle over me every time the phone rang was gone. I didn't dread his voice, his insults, his presence. For the first time since I'd started, I felt free to just enjoy the work again. The next trainee graduation was bittersweet. Mort, one of the sharpest trainees we'd had, was moving on to his permanent store assignment. We all gathered around the counter to give him a proper send-off. He pulled me into a quick, rough bro hug and said, "Thanks for everything, man. You made this place feel like a team." I wasn't used to compliments sticking, but that one did. Maybe because it reminded me that the respect I craved had been here all along, from my coworkers, my boss, and even the trainees who came and went. It was just hard to see with Bob constantly poisoning the atmosphere. Tommy stopped by later, still a little pale from his cold, but grinning wide. "You did good," he told me. "Not for fighting back, just for not letting him break you. People like that thrive on control. You didn't give it to him." I nodded, letting the words sink in. For years, I'd struggled with letting other people's cruelty define me. But this time, the tables had flipped. Bob's cruelty hadn't defined me, it had destroyed him. Out in the field, the fallout was worse than I'd even imagined. Clients stopped hiring him after seeing the cracked paint jobs. The rep refused to return his calls. The sister stores turned their backs. By the time the gossip reached us again, Bob wasn't just banned, he was irrelevant. And that was the real justice. Not a single dramatic explosion, not one big confrontation. Just a steady collapse, piece by piece, until he was left standing alone. One evening, as I locked up, I thought about the contrast. Bob had spent his career burning through people, leaving bitterness wherever he went. I, on the other hand, was still here, earning trust, building respect, finding strength in the small victories. Bob lost his discounts, his clients, his reputation. I gained something he never had, peace. I wasn't naive enough to think the world would suddenly be free of people like him. But I knew one thing. If I faced another Bob down the line, I wouldn't flinch. Because I had learned that when the system, your team, and your own resilience align, even the loudest bully can be silenced. Looking back, I realized the call with Bob could have broken me. I've carried scars from people like him before. Loud, arrogant voices that drill into your brain and try to convince you you're worthless. A year ago, I might have believed him. I might have gone home, shut the door, and wondered if I even deserved this job. But that didn't happen. Because this time, I wasn't alone. My boss stepped in. My coworkers had my back. The network, people who barely even knew me, chose to stand against Bob instead of letting him slide. And in that, I found something I hadn't had in a long time. Proof that decency can win. Bob thought he was untouchable. He thought yelling at a young employee was just another Tuesday. But his downfall showed the truth. No one is so big that they can't fall. He lost his discounts, his clients, his credibility. And in the end, his own work exposed him for what he really was: lazy, careless, and cruel. Meanwhile, I walked away with more than just a paycheck. I gained confidence. I learned that protecting yourself doesn't always mean fighting back directly. It can mean trusting the people around you to step up. It can mean saying, enough. And maybe most importantly, I discovered that I wasn't defined by people like Bob. His insults didn't stick. His cruelty didn't shape me. His collapse wasn't my burden to carry, it was his. Now, when I think about the future, I don't picture bullies looming over me. I picture the faces of my coworkers laughing at the thought of Bob begging for discounts he'd never get again. I picture Tommy telling me I did good. I picture Mort's bro hug on his last day. Those are the moments that matter. And if there's one lesson I'll carry with me, it's this. Respect is something you build. Abuse is something you choose. And sooner or later, the people who choose abuse pay the price. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my shoes? Would you have taken that call, or would you have walked away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. And if you've ever dealt with a Bob of your own, share your story. Sometimes the best way to heal is to realize you're not alone in it. If this story hit home, stick around. I've got more tales of justice, betrayal, and lessons learned the hard way. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Because trust me, this isn't the last time a bully learned the hard way that actions have consequences.